you do for a living there, sir? You know, if you don't mind me asking. You know, what do you do for a living? I'm a nightclub comic, I tell the guy. So he says to me, he says, I work down at the University of Science there. He says, that's
a good school, by the way.
I can't remember the exact place.
Sure.
But he says, I'm a professor of logic.
Oh.
So he says, the guy says, logic. Now, what the hell is that? I never heard tell of that. He says, oh, well, he says it's a kind of a pattern of syllogistic. Well, he says it's hard to explain. He says, why don't I give you an example? So I said, fair enough. Why don't you do that? So the guy says, well, he says, let me ask you a question. He says, do you own a doghouse? So I go, yes, I do. He says, well, then that means you probably have a dog. I said, yes. He says, well, that means you're likely you have a family if you have a dog. I said, yes, I do. He said, well, then that means you got kids, you're married. I said, yes, yes, I am. He says, well, then you're a heterosexual man. I said, yes, sir, I am. He says, well, you see, that's logic there. I asked if simply from finding out you had a doghouse, I made this series of inferences, and I found that you're a heterosexual man simply from the fact that you had a doghouse. Well, I said, good God, isn't that something?
Okay. Coming out.
Yes.
Title undetermined at this point.
Chairman of the board.
Oh, all right. Do something with that, you freak.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D. With you. I go, well, I had an interesting thing happen to me today. I said, I met my neighbor. And he goes, oh, yeah? I go, he had a hell of an interesting job. I said, he's a professor of logic down at the University of
Science.
And so the guy says, is that so? He says, professor of logic. He goes, what the hell is that, logic? I said, well, it's a series of Scylla something or other.
Right.
I said, I can't remember exactly, but I said, I'll give you an example if you want to hear an example. So the guy goes, all right, fair enough. So I said, let me ask you this. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you own a doghouse? And the guy goes, no, I don't own a doghouse. So the guy says, oh, yeah, you're one of them gays. Because I come in here, I order a Polish sausage. Why would you jump to the fact that I'm Polish?
Right.
And the guy says to me, well, first of all, it's a hardware store. The fella went by the name of Jacques de Gautier. And he was from Témiscamingue, Quebec. And Jacques de Gautier, he was a fella that really thought. And he was smart, you know. He was our hope, I guess. And he was, while I was scrabbling to get out of high school, Jacques Zagatineau had already...
I think you just changed his last name.
Well, you know, a man grows.